these tweets out. All right. Welcome into the Lowdown Sports Show. This show is brought to you by the Basketball Podcast Network, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Drew.
And I'm Mark Schindler.
And we're here to get the lowdown on all things basketball. No BJ today. My man BJ is out on vacation, enjoying himself as he should. But Mark is in here filling in, gonna do a very respectable job today. Of course, Mark is all things basketball all the time, and he knows what he is talking about. So he's gonna be a wealth of knowledge in here today. Glad to have you in here, bud. And man, feel free to go ahead and just plug your stuff. You do a lot of work on both sides, and I mean, you're just a man, dude.
Oh, I appreciate that, Drew. I'm psyched to be on. You can find me on Twitter at MG_Schindler. I have a Patreon right now. I do full-time work, but it's not full-time. I work at like 5 or 6 different outlets, as Drew mentioned. So find me at Dime Up Rocks, basketballnews.com. I work for the WNBA technically over at their main website. Have some fun stuff coming up the next couple of days and weeks as the season somehow wraps up. It's like, dude, we have less than a month before playoffs, and it's wild to even
Right,
contemplate. But
bro.
yeah, Twitter is definitely the best place to find me.
Yeah, I was looking at the last home game for the Wings, like in the middle of the week on a Wednesday. It was like the 13th of August, I think, and I was like, that's weird. Just a
Yeah.
weird Wednesday to end on. But yeah, it's coming up fast. In less than a month, playoffs will be upon us. But yeah, we got a chock full show for you guys today. We're talking NBA, of course. A move that just happened. James Harden just signed, so we might as well toss that into today's agenda and talking a little bit of other stuff, a little bit about Lakers, Donovan Mitchell, and on the WNBA side, the playoff race from top to bottom, top tier, bottom tier, all those teams fighting from like, 5 or 6 to 11 in the league there, talking about those and who's likely to make those last spots. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, some with it or quit it. Mark, are you ready to go, man?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right, let's rock and roll, dude. So first thing I want to know, and man, you started in the NBA side, I believe, and then you
Mhm.
came W. So you know a lot of basketball, and NBA has been around for a long time. And this Lakers team, man, this is a weird crop of stars up at the top. It did not work this last year, and they've been trying to dump off Russell Westbrook since. It's a weird, ugly. I mean, you might call it a toxic relationship at this point between the Lakers and Russell Westbrook and what they want to do. But as trade talks, ramp up again, as we saw recently, LeBron James, Anthony Davis come to collect with Russell Westbrook, and they're like they want to make it work. And my question, Mark, is can it even work?
Man, I don't know. I'm just kind of at the point where, like you mentioned, the way that everything got publicized with him and his agent splitting, like I've never seen a news cycle pop up out of somebody splitting with their agent like that before. Like it was
Yeah,
weird.
yeah.
I'm sure a lot of that was agency driven, but um, I'm just kind of out on it working. Like I hope it does for Russ's sake, honestly. Like my biggest thing, like I've just hated the cycle with it. Like I
Right.
just maybe I'm partially biased because growing up, like Russ at his peak was me in high school. So like watching
Mhm.
him and those OKC teams play when it was him and Durant and Ibaka all in their primes was just a blast.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been that player. Like I think he had that really nice stretch with the Wizards after a really rough beginning, but um, I just don't think it's going to happen in LA. And clearly they don't think so either. We keep hearing his name getting thrown around in trade talks. Like this is very clearly they don't really want this to happen.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's trending towards them running it back again. So I don't know. I mean, it's the same stuff as always. Like, okay, can he do more stuff being active as a defender? Being used more as a screener and roller instead of having the ball in his hands all the time. Like,
Mhm.
okay, if it was going to happen, it would have happened last year. I don't
Right.
necessarily think that a first year head coach is going to come in and change everything up unless something pretty drastic happens. So not to be, me, I'm a major optimist. I'm not
Yeah.
optimistic about this situation. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook, chaos in himself, and then the Lakers just not being able to figure out, things for a long time, besides the one bubble championship that happened to happen. But, otherwise it's been chaos all around it.
Mhm.
And, Russ, amazingly enough, I was looking at Russ's, his stats and his shooting percentages over the years. He's really he just stayed on par, this year with how he shot from the field. Obviously we know he has terrible shot selection, but percentage wise he's doing about the same. But that 3-pointer, it's never been good, but it's just not getting any better. The free throw percentage is kind of the stark thing there for Russ. He used to be like a mid 80s guy, and now he's shooting worse than LeBron from the free throw line. It's like 65%, and shooting really 66 actually this season, and it's really ugly. And Russ's level of play has just been a teetering thing ever since he left Oklahoma City, and he's just been bouncing and been a journeyman. Has there ever been like a journeyman star that has bounced around so quickly as Russell Westbrook
Dude,
has?
maybe Vince Carter, but again, like
Man,
part of
that's
why
like a
is
whole
because he was able to
career
be a role
though.
player. Like exactly, like
Yeah,
he was able to
man.
change his game up. Like this is different. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I mean that's 4 teams in 4 seasons. And I mean, I'm going on 5 now. This is the first team he'd be on, multiple seasons with since OKC, and it's really chaos out there. And since they're trying to run it back, and it looks like it's going to be what's going to happen. How do you build around this team? Like, look at a couple of people that they brought in. They lost, what's his name?
Malik
Malik
Monk.
Monk, yeah, and they brought in Lonnie Walker. But what else do you put around this team? Do they need more Austin Reeves? How LeBron used to do it, or do you need to mix a style of like LeBron and Westbrook to kind of get a team that would work? Just pretty much just shooters on the outside, and then the 3 stars having to do everything else.
Well, I think what's tough is last year so much of what the problem was it was a lot of one-way players. Like
Yeah,
honestly, Melo was one of their 5 best players for large stretches of last year. I thought his defense in the front court was like passable at times, but the issue was it looked a lot worse because of who else was out there. Like I think so
yeah,
often, like Malik Monk has moments defensively. I think he's at times better than he's credit for, but there were also a lot of times where it was pretty rough. Like
yeah,
without having LeBron and AD, as much as they were injured, like I mean, it was just kind of toast for them. They didn't have guys who could carry it outside them. Um, and it was just hard to actually string together lineups that made sense just because, okay, well, it felt like we can put out offensive lineups and we'll find our way, but we were a defense first team. Frank Vogel's a really good defensive coach. That's how they established themselves as a title contender, an actual title winner, was by being a great defensive team. And they didn't have the personnel to be very good defensively, but or less that. Like, okay, if they have a good defense running, well, we have like a 95 offensive rating with this lineup. Like
yeah,
it was gross. I
yeah,
think this year I still have questions about the limitations. Like, okay, you're asking a lot out of a Taylor Horton Tucker jump, and I feel like we've been doing that for 2 years now. Not to be unfair to him, like those are crazy expectations to have for somebody who was the youngest player in his draft.
yeah,
But they also just frankly need more. Like Stanley Johnson did some nice things, but again, like ideally your 8th or 9th man. I feel like my biggest issue is that's just what the team is right now. There's a lot of like guys who are I'm pretty cool coming off the bench, but as starters, I don't know. Like Lonnie Walker does nice things, but in terms of like he's a much more capable and solid defender than Malik Monk. But in terms of offensive consistency, like he is so up and down. Like he
right.
might be the most inconsistent player in the NBA as far as I'm concerned. Um,
Man,
so it's just like Juan Toscano Anderson, nice player, did some positive things for the Warriors. I didn't love how his role was de-emphasized last year, even on a title-winning team. But like
yeah,
it just feels like you're asking for too much. Like Thomas Bryant coming back from injury last year was pretty rough. Like he's never been a very good defender. He made some strides, but again, like I don't know. I actually think like Damian Jones was probably my favorite pickup from them. Like he balled out with the
yeah.
Kings last year. It was really good. And I think he'll
Mhm.
do nice things as like a 20-25 minute per game guy. But again, like I just unless Russ is just drastically different this year, I don't know what the upside or intrigue is here. I know there were some reports today from ESPN about them trying to re-engage Indiana and acquiring Buddy Hield, which I think would be really good for them. But again, I don't think that there's much incentive for Indiana to actually do that. So
What's one tweak, just one, if you could pick one tweak that Russ could make that would fix it enough to make it work?
I think the biggest thing for me would just be selling out to be more of an off-ball player. Would be
Mm,
the biggest thing. Just work. Okay, instead of having the ball in my hands all the time, I'm going to be I'm going to do a ton of stuff as a screener. I'm
Mhm.
going to be as active as possible as a cutter because so often when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's not active
Mhm.
as a cutter.
At all.
Um, and I
Yeah.
think to me, like I get some of the frustrations with that and him not doing it, but also just speaking from like a human standpoint, I can't imagine being Russell Westbrook, being somebody who wins MVP, is in the MVP conversation multiple times, uh, doing everything he did in OKC, and then being told like, oh well, you're a role player now. Like that's a hard thing
Right.
for guys to accept. We've seen
He'd
that
probably
be an
do some
issue for
mellow
people.
stuff.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like we've seen
Yeah.
that be an issue for guys throughout their career. Like as good as and important as it is to have like those tier A stars when they're there,
Mhm.
most guys who are that level really struggle to become a lower level. It's a lower level is the wrong way to put it, but like a lower rung on the totem pole player. Like I think Paul Pierce is one of the few guys I can think of that's really done that. Like even Michael
Yeah.
Jordan. Michael Jordan struggled with that. Like he came
Yeah.
back, he was bad for the Wizards, if we're being
Yeah.
frank. Like as far as star players go, like
Mhm.
part of that's age and everything, but also like it's just hard to do that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. We'll see, but uh, I don't know.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch, as it
For sure.
always is. And the West is, going to be a little bit stronger, and as teams are trying to reload and be healthy now, and Kawhi will be back, Zion will be back,
Man, just
players like
speaking
that.
on that, let's rattle it off right now. How
Okay.
many teams are not actively trying to make the playoffs next year? San Antonio,
San Antonio for sure.
Houston, OKC,
Houston,
and maybe
OKC.
Utah, and that's it. So you have 11
Probably.
teams that are gunning to make the playoffs. And
Man.
honestly, like even San Antonio, I don't think that they're trying to lose necessarily. They're just
Oh
younger.
no, they never really
Yeah,
are. But
exactly.
I
So it's
mean,
like I'm always going to take the over on San Antonio wins losses
yeah.
because I'm sure that they'll win like 35 games still and be competent. Like it's going to be like you mentioned, this is going to be a tough year, especially with the Clippers back in full force.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. A loaded West and even a loaded East. It's going to be pretty competitive. It's a lot of fun basketball. Um, Some news just happened just before we started our podcast today. Something that some people have been waiting on. I mean, I kind of knew it
Mhm.
was going to happen when PJ Tucker landed. James wasn't going anywhere, but James Harden agreed on a 2-year, $68.6 million deal, including a player option to return to the Sixers. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Mark?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I was expecting this to happen. It was on the way for a while, I think.
Yeah.
We were just kind of in a state of waiting for it to happen. I know I think it was reported last week or the week before. Um, I what's interesting to me is trying to parse through who James Harden is now. I think a lot of
That's
people
what I
have
was
been
going to
struggling with
ask you
that
next, but
because
go ahead.
I think he's still a very good player. Like he
Yeah.
is not going to be who he was in Houston, 2 or 3 years ago. But I do think who we saw in the playoffs, like even just in the playoffs and in general, like yes, he struggled, but also we're talking struggled by James Harden standards, not like
Mhm.
was a bad player. Um, I think you can still be an all-star, late all NBA level guy. Like I don't obviously again,
Really?
like I think we're kind of past Harden being a top 5 guy in the league, but
Mhm.
it's for the best, honestly, and it's a lot of the same stuff too. Like, can he improve in being more of an off-ball player and threat and doing some of those things? But um, not to get too excited, but like there was an article that came out this last week, I think, and it's less about the him taking his diet and shit more seriously, but it was
Yeah.
one about I think I'm trying to remember where I read it from. It was a really good article. It's from a place that's like not typically basketball, if I remember correctly. I think it was like something talking about him like getting into wine. And he just talked about like,
Oh,
yeah, that
I think I
article was
saw that.
really good.
Yeah.
And he just talked about like being like
Of
he openly
wine.
talked about like he's going to take a pay cut in that article because he wants to win and he's rededicate himself to it. And I think the biggest thing too, like last year, um I want to say he wasn't like he had the hamstring injury late in the playoffs, obviously against Brooklyn. I mean, with Brooklyn against the Bucks, when he got injured. And so for Harden, like it's obviously like there's stuff with the work ethic and whatnot that I do think is fair to nitpick, especially going out to clubs and whatnot like he does. But in terms of actually putting in the work, like he goes crazy in the off seasons. Like he's normally
Mhm.
somebody just from intel and talking to people, like he's a does like 5-on-5 runs like 3 times a day every day during the summer.
Yeah.
He didn't get to do that at all last year because he had the
Mhm.
hamstring injury and was still rehabbing from it.
Yeah.
And that's normally how he gets himself ready for the season. So I think having that back, I'd expect a pretty good year for him, or at least like a good start to the year for him. Um, But as far as like the actual contract goes, um, I think it's like I'm sure somebody's gonna have a think piece about how it's ridiculous that he's taking a pay cut and it's bad for the NBA and this and that. I think it's cool. Like
Hmm.
as long as I think to me it's more about like I'm cool with guys who like not getting for like clearly James Harden's not getting forced into taking a pay cut. Like at least that's
Right.
my read on it. When we see players like it's different in the W when people are taking pay cuts because they want to be competitive and
Right.
because there's a hard cap. Like if there wasn't a hard cap, I think it would be a lot different in how we're talking about. Like I mean, John Quell is like ridiculously underpaid because
Yeah.
she's not on a max right now because she wants
Right.
to win in Connecticut and like
Hmm.
so I have a lot more sympathetic feelings for this than I think I do for other situations for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just excited to see how it plays out because I think the Sixers team is going to be pretty good next year. I think it's probably the best team that we've seen around Joel Embiid.
They getting the number one seed next year?
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about number one seed, but I do think they're going to be pretty good. I'm
Do you think
excited.
they are more encouraged to keep Matisse Thybulle now? His name briefly floated in some trade talks
I
just to
don't
keep
think that
that
they really
defensive
want
presence.
to. I think they're
No,
pretty out on Matisse, and
right?
honestly,
Isn't he unvaxxed too?
yeah, he's like
Yeah.
partially vaxxed. It's weird. Like on one hand, like again, I tend not to be super sympathetic to that stuff, but he like grew up in like his mom's like a homeopathic doctor or something like that.
Mm,
So yeah, it's a weird situation. Again, not to excuse him not getting vaccinated. It's just stupid as fuck. Like we had the
right.
Andrew Wiggins thing come out yesterday. Like, oh,
Oh, Wiggins.
I won a title as an all-star, but I still wish I hadn't gotten a vaccine. Like, man, shut the fuck up. Like, I don't care. Like, why do we have to amplify that crap? Like,
Yeah.
what is the point of that? Um, but yeah, it's an interesting situation. I imagine they're still going to try and trade him just because they need another rotation player, and I don't think they view him as being part of that because of what his struggles have been.
What kind of player do you think they're looking for if they ship out Thibault, same position, or do you think they'd, go for a different piece of depth somewhere else?
Definitely another wing,
Another
because I
wing.
think that's I don't want to say it's a weakness for them. Like adding Daniel House
Mm,
was a fine signing, especially looking more at depth. But I think it's kind of the same thing as looking at like having Georges and Yang on roster. Like I
mhm.
think they can do positive things during the regular season, be a good eighth or ninth man, but once it hits the playoffs, I'm gonna have more questions about it. So I think that's kind of what they're looking for. Like honestly, like they talked about making a trade for Eric Gordon, and honestly, like people can say what they want about Eric Gordon. Like he would be a very darn good sixth man on this team. Um, I know that the money is a lot and has been a lot for him, but if he's healthy, like that's a good player to add to your team when you need depth. Who's played in the playoffs and is a proven player. So
Right.
I don't think that they necessarily have the salary to make that happen, but somebody like that, somebody who can handle, who can pass, keep the ball moving, and be a capable shooter. Because again, that's Matisse's biggest problem right now.
Do you think they would? Do you think they would shrink it down a little bit and try and bring in a Patrick Beverly?
I don't know. That's interesting, especially because like adding DeAnthony Melton for like especially for what the cost was, I thought was fantastic. Like that's somebody
Hmm.
who I think reasonably might start for this team if things shake out right. I really like him, and I think he's going to add a lot of what Pat kind of would. So because I do think it would be a little bit odd, not necessarily odd playing them together, but I think you're downsized to a pretty substantial point. Like yeah, both guys have wingspan and can guard up, but
Yeah.
it's just harder to play two guys who are 6'2" or shorter at the same time. But again,
Right.
like if you can get Pat Bev for kind of on the cheap, like okay, I'm there for it. Especially like you mentioned, like it's a weird thing. Like I don't think he's long for Utah, and I don't think Utah's long for him either.
No,
So
no,
yeah,
not at all. Yeah, yeah. He'd be much happier hanging out with Embiid and those boys in Philly.
yeah.
Getting embraced by Philly fans, even. I'm not a Patrick Beverly fan, but have at it, Philly. Go ahead. The last person I want to touch on in the NBA, name floating around, and him moving is essentially inevitable. It's just a matter of where. Donovan Mitchell. Most talk has been about the Miami Heat. Like, Dwayne Wade's evil plan.
Yeah.
Get some ownership in Utah and then send Donovan Mitchell to Miami.
Clearly, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this is one I've tried to think through too. Like, uh, I don't know. You know me. I try and be like pretty fair to every market. I think
Right.
I really get the Mitchell trade for
Hmm.
the Knicks if they try and make it happen. Um, I think a lot in terms of what the return would be for the Jazz is what has me more confused, honestly. Like, it's been reported like they really don't want RJ Barrett back because they don't want to have to pay him, and I think that's a pretty stupid thing.
Yes,
Like
for real.
I get it, like ownership is a part, but also like you have to have somebody who's getting paid there. So it's
Yeah.
just it's a weird thing. But like in terms of actual picks and adding young players as well, they can definitely do it. And that's interesting. As for the Heat, I just like are you really that moved by like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson as filler um
Mm.
and like their minuscule amount of draft picks I can add? Because I think like as in terms of the actual basketball fit, like he would be perfect in Miami, honest to God.
Mhm.
Or actually, now that I think about it, you're probably sending out Kyle Lowry in terms of salary matching. But
They'd be
as for
happy to
the
do it.
actual viability of it happening, I just don't think that Miami has the means to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be Dwayne Wade's dream, but it's only a fantasy for now, I guess. But he's on the move somewhere. It's crazy that the Jazz wouldn't want to pay RJ Barrett. That's a good, solid young player,
Hmm.
two way. The Knicks really like. So I mean, I think they're going to even struggle with parting with him, even for Donovan. I guess depending on how much they have to send along with RJ. But definitely movement going to be going down. Going to be going
Hmm.
down for sure. In NBA is very interesting, and man, no W moves at the deadline. We'll get to W later, but deadline is always pretty dead on that side of things. It seems like for the most part, but a lot of basketball action talking about it today. That action never ends at DraftKings Sportsbook, ladies and gentlemen, especially this summer. And this summer, it's really stinking hot, dude. It was 106 when I got off at 5.
90 in
It's
Ohio today, man. Like, what are we
it's
doing here?
it's insane. With tons of ways to bet on all your favorite sports, like the NBA and the WNBA, you can
Mhm.
fuel your fandom and feel the heat. Hopefully, not this heat of the season, like never before. Plus, right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, they're giving new customers a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's right, Mark, and all you listeners out there. Make your first bet up to $1,000, and if it doesn't win, you'll get another shot to cash in. You can throw down on all the major action for baseball, golf, MMA, and more. Plus, with same game parlays, spreads, money lines, over unders, and props, your betting options feel endless. What I advise, and it's still not a bad pick, if you got a little money, I mean, just toss it on it because you never know what this team's going to be like in the playoffs. Mark, Washington Mystics plus 900 to win the championship. I mean, why not? Why not? I
uh,
recommend it.
well, see, this is tough, man. I, uh,
Oh, don't do
I,
it again. We'll get into it in a little bit.
oh yeah,
Best of all, at DraftKings, it's safe, secure, and it's reliable. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code TBPN. Make your first deposit and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code TBPN only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Now you can talk about those Mystics here in just a second as we get into the WNBA playoff race after what's on Drew's mind. Oh no, I know the W was just on the tip of your tongue. You wanted to talk about it. I know. We're gonna get there. But I got some stuff on my mind, and we're here today to discuss some of those things. Adding a little bit more to it today to replace the time missing from BJ's segment. So we'll leave BJ's best for BJ. Love you, Mr. Beach. And we'll just hang on to what's on Drew's mind today. I added a couple of things. So first things first. Uh, what's on my mind today as we record on a Wednesday? Uh, Mark, you have not only been known for your
oh
basketball
no,
writing, but your takes on food. And even this morning, you had someone tweet at you about your food takes. And, I want to list off some of the things that you said on Twitter.
Oh no,
Some of your food takes, just the recent ones that I could catch anyway. Uh, Mark, ladies and gentlemen, hates pickles,
that is true.
and
That was
this is
actually like
just
my first real food take was shitting on pickles.
man, that was just some crazy stuff right there. I love pickles. I put pickles on my burger all the time. That's crazy. He also is not pleased. I won't say he hates this, but he's not pleased with the waffles at Waffle House. Thinks they're inferior for a place with waffle in the name, and that's a relatively understandable take.
Yeah,
But I think he might have gotten on some people's nerves with this one.
just a few.
Cheese shouldn't be on everything. There are some people out there that are just cheese fiends. They gotta dip everything in cheese. I used to know some people at a gas station I used to work at. They bought Cheetos and went over to the machine and squeezed some nacho cheese inside,
That's
and just
insane to me.
and would and would eat the cheese like that.
That's
Cheese,
just
and they just
insane to
go
me. I
ham on
can't.
those
That
Cheetos,
makes me cringe just thinking about it. If we're being completely honest.
Dang man, he's hating on the cheese, and he despises the kiss cam.
Yes, Kiss Cam was bad. True story.
That has nothing to do with food, but he just despises the kiss cam. I just thought I'd throw that in there as well. So with Mark's some of Mark's takes that we have seen, do you have before we get into the rest of these? Do you have any other food takes that you believe might be controversial to the masses?
You know, I don't think I have any off the dome right now.
Okay,
But I do think. I mean, I will stand by the pickle sweet. I think pickles are horrendous,
man,
man. I think
man,
there are pickled things that are good, like pickled onions, fantastic.
ew.
Um, but like actual like pickled cucumbers, hell no, it's gross.
Man, those things are a gift. Those are you don't deserve them. That's
To
crazy. They're
some,
even
but not to
they're
me.
even good fried. That's how versatile they are.
Uh,
That's how versatile. All
uh,
right, so we'll just keep an eye on Twitter for the rest of Mark's potentially horrendous food takes that could be out there. I'm sure he's got one in the drafts ready to wake up at 8 a.m. and drop on us just to ruin someone's day. Like, what? Why did you
of
just
course.
attack steaks this morning? What did you do that for? Or whatever he's got on his mind. But I want to get your thoughts on some other foods and some condiments as well, and just see where you are on these and if you like these or not. Okay.
Perfect.
So, what are your thoughts on ranch dressing?
It's fine. I think it's overused, a little bit overhyped
Oh,
too.
whoa,
Um,
whoa! Overused and overhyped.
it can do
What do you
some nice things,
mean?
but like the ranch and pizza is just a no go. People do
Oh,
that,
that's
drive me up a
that's.
wall.
Would you be fine with someone dipping their crust in ranch?
Sure, I'll let people get
Dang.
away with that one, but like dipping, like
Okay.
no, dipping the whole thing in ranch is crazy to me. I don't
It's
get
doing
that.
it's doing too much,
It's
right?
doing way too much.
There are people who put ketchup on pizza. That's offensive to me,
That
honestly.
is way worse. That is a abominable.
It's disgusting. I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that you're okay with ranch. Are you a blue cheese person?
I don't mind. It's just heavy. Like it's really heavy. Like I used to be a person who loved blue
Yeah.
cheese with wings, but
Oh,
um
I'm sorry.
I yeah, it's
I'm
fine.
glad.
Like
I'm glad you're not that person anymore.
yeah, I'm not anymore, but I used to be. Like
Yeah,
it's I don't know. Like it's again, it's just like it's too heavy for stuff. Like you can be good on some things, but for the most part, yeah, it's like a little too much.
it's pretty garbage. Uh, how about guacamole?
Oh, I love guacamole. I
I
think
think.
disliking guacamole, especially fresh guacamole, not like you
Mm,
can't. I mean, like there are some store bought ones. Like obviously, it's like
okay,
homemade store
so
bought
like an
stuff, but like
HEB, like there's like a little container that's like I don't know, like the size of your hand maybe, and another like $6. You can get like fresh guac with tomato or like with pico or without pico. It's pretty fire. It's
yeah,
pretty
that
good.
stuff's good. But if you're getting like straight packaged, like made in a factory guac, don't do
Yeah,
that. Just go buy
right.
some cheaper guac somewhere else. That's actually good.
Yeah, don't getting the bad stuff will ruin your opinion on guac. Like
Exactly.
you need to get proper guac. Uh oh, I'm gonna skip this one because I'll come. That's part of the next part. How do you feel about In and Out Burger?
So I've only had In-N-Out once,
Same.
but I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. Um, I can't like I'm not in a place to say that it's like bad or anything. Like I think that it's fine. Again, like it's fast food. I'll give it like a B minus. Like I don't have anything bad to say
Ooh,
about it.
okay. So what was better, your first, if you've had this, have you had Whataburger before?
I've not had Whataburger before because
Dang, never
I've
mind.
never been to Texas. I know it's like more of like a Texas like
Wow,
down
dude.
south thing. I met my sister lives in Alabama. We were gonna go to Whataburger one time, and we ended up not going. But when I visit her in a month or two, I'm going. So
Turn up.
I'll have an opinion for you then.
I need a comparison, and I hope you don't say that it's not better than In-N-Out Burger. Then I'll
I'd
just
imagine
call
it's
you a
better than
liar.
In-N-Out. Like In-N-Out's fine. Like I thought it like again, like it's a good fast food burger. I didn't think it held up to some of the lofty expectations that I had going into it.
And this is not to over compliment Whataburger at all because I think that is overrated, but it is better than In-N-Out Burger. Uh, what are your thoughts on brownies?
Oh, I love brownies. That's
Yeah,
like my favorite dessert, man. Like
yeah.
I absolutely love brownies. I could not imagine disliking brownies. That's crazy to
I,
me.
I'm
I
sorry.
will
I've
say
been.
too, I am much more of a I like thick brownies. The airy ones, like cakey brownies are bad. I don't like them when people do it like that. Like they got to be like fudgy with like honestly
So
like
you need
having
a
like a
perfect
layer of
brownie.
frosting on top. Yeah, exactly.
You can't have like them like middle school lunchbox brownies. You know
No,
about
yeah,
those.
cosmic brownies are bad. They taste like
All brownies
plastic
are
now.
bad, to be honest.
What? Okay, I don't know about
It's
that one. That's crazy
yeah.
to me.
I'm
That's
just
crazy talk.
I'm not a too much chocolate guy. So like I wouldn't drink chocolate
Okay,
milk, like
that's
no
fair.
chocolate cake. So like it's too much. But like
Okay,
a
that's
Snickers,
fair.
I'm down with that. Key lime pie.
Oh, I love key lime
Oh
pie.
dang it, dude!
Absolutely adore key lime
This is a
pie,
disappointing
and I
day.
hate most pies too. Like I really
You hate
dislike
apple
pie for the
pie?
most part. Oh, I hate apple pie.
Dude, oh
I
my god, what's going
I
on?
don't like well, I don't like chunky fruit. It just doesn't
Oh
agree with me.
man.
Like I'm a big texture
Oh man.
person, and that is like a very
Oh
bad
dude, same,
texture.
but I oh no, it's not
Yeah,
that
no,
bad.
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Oh, since you're a big texture person, I'm gonna add this to the mix. How do you feel about corn?
Corn's good. Like I
No,
don't.
it's not. No, it's terrible
What?
texture.
How is it bad? What is
Ew,
wrong with
it's just
corn?
it makes my skin crawl. It's not good. It's like I don't know.
It's like
Uh,
it's fine. Like it's not
ew,
anything
uh,
crazy.
uh.
But it's fine. Like I don't. No, man, I can't with you. No, it's fine. Like it's fine. It
I
does its
can't. Give me
job.
some green beans or some peas or
Oh,
something.
okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. I'd rather have real vegetables than corn.
There you
Like,
go.
give me some
It's not
asparagus. Like honestly,
right.
let's
Like,
go.
don't get that corn on the cob stuff away from me.
Yeah, okay. So I like corn off the cob. I don't like corn on the cob because it gets stuck in your
Why is
teeth.
that? Oh,
And it's
that.
messy too. I don't like messy things for the most part,
Bruh.
so I don't like ribs. But
Oh, yo,
like they taste good, but
yo.
I don't like picking them up with my hands just because it's like not my
No, but
thing.
like you need to get the ones that fall off the bone, so you can just like they're off, and you just get your fork and go to town, yo.
Yeah, it's fine.
Too much work.
Yeah,
Mac and cheese, yo.
I don't really like mac and cheese, but I'm biased
I knew this was coming.
because I'm
Actually, I don't
lactose
know why.
intolerant. So
Uh,
that's where my cheese. I used to be a massive cheese person, and now
that's
I
where the
just can't
cheese
do it.
on everything things comes from
Yep,
too. Okay, got you now. There's reasoning within that one. Okay, okay. I'll let both of those slide then.
good.
Coleslaw.
Uh,
Come on, make the right choice here.
so like there are some good coleslaws. Like there are some like good ones
Oh my
if
god.
they're made fresh. But like if you eat Cane's coleslaw, you're a bad person. Um, straight up, like that is insane to me. People who like actually
If
eat the Cane's coleslaw.
even if anybody like even somebody that likes the coleslaw in general, you always trade it for more toast.
Exactly,
You
and not
always
the
trade it for
fries.
more
The fries
toast.
are terrible. Fries are legitimately terrible.
They say that a lot. I've heard some people say that about the chicken too, and they say
No,
it's
see the
undercooked.
Cane's chicken is Cane's chicken is good, but
That's what I say
Popeyes
too.
is better.
That's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Most
think
of
the
Cane's is pretty
I
bleh.
think without the cane sauce, what is canes? What
Yeah,
is it?
no, that's a fair point.
Just some regular chicken strips. Uh, Potato salad.
Oh, I love potato salad.
Damn it!
It's so good.
Oh, I gotta cut that. Dang it.
Why do you have to cut
uh,
that?
this is a clean show. I'll mark
Oh,
it explicit. Uh, Man, that's nasty, dude. That's
You
gross.
don't like? I see. I
I
love
like
it.
I
I
like
think it's
the
good.
parts of potato salad. I'm down with
Yeah,
potatoes.
I think
I can
like
I
it
can
can
eat
be.
some mayonnaise on certain things. I'm down with some mustard on certain things. But like all together, and doesn't it have like pickle relish too or something in
Mhm.
potato salad? Yeah, separately, all those things fine. Together, no.
See that
Just
that I can understand and get with. There are some good ones. There's some bad ones. Like it just depends. Like
I think
homemade
what
potato
just
salad can be really good. But yeah, if it has like pickles or anything in that, like you mentioned, hell no.
yeah just like I don't just mayonnaise and mustard is just not a thing that would be appealing to me as a
Yeah, I
taste.
don't
It's just
normally like mayo, but like I tend
yeah.
to like the see. I like mustard. I like the mustard based ones, honestly.
All right, then you'll do good in this next part of what's on Drew's mind. All right, last one. What's your take on pineapple on pizza?
No.
Thank you. All right, I'm
Yeah,
glad we
that's my
ended on a
answer.
good
The
note.
answer is no.
Yes, I'm glad we ended that one on a good note. Okay, so the non-food directed at Mark portion of what's on Drew's mind is that it just so happens that the past two or three actually what's on Drew's mind have been on a national something day. Like I've had National Camera Day and I had National French Fry Day, and now I've got National Hot Dog Day today on
Oof.
Wednesday. So
I like hot dogs. No,
he doesn't like hot dogs. Oh my god,
no,
Mark hates fun at this
that's
point.
true.
He doesn't want to go to the cookout because he's not going to eat anything there. Uh, National Hot Dog Day. We didn't dig too deeply into this one since it's a two-parter. But uh, is it? Would you consider it true or false that a hot dog is the number one ballpark food?
I mean, yeah, but I don't like them.
No, I didn't mean like your preference. I mean like in general.
Oh yeah, no, like that's a thing. That's true.
Right,
They're the number one ballpark food. I can. I mean, it would be lying to say otherwise.
right. Baseball fans would beat you in the head with a hot dog. What? Well, since I guess you kind of I gotta skip this question because you don't like hot dogs. Did you at any point in your life like hot dogs? And would you like a hot dog if it had, I don't know if you're a jalapeno person, like a jalapeno hot dog or something like? Are you a pig in a blanket guy?
No, not really.
Neither. Okay,
It's not my
never
thing.
liked them. Okay,
Like
dang. Well,
I used to be okay with them. I think like the
mhm.
ballpark hot dogs kind of suck though. Like they're normally cheaper
Feel
quality
that.
and just not very good. I love brats though. Like brats are amazing. I can
Really,
always go with the brat.
really. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So, would you love or hate living in Chicago?
After so All-Star weekend was really fun as a person there,
Hmm.
but the Uber prices are insane. So I would
Oh
not like
yeah.
living in Chicago. I
Try
don't like I
Vegas.
would literally break the bank just trying to do that at all. Like so I'm telling you like I was in Vegas like the day or two after and like a 15-minute Uber ride in Vegas was like 18 bucks after tip.
Mm.
A like shoot, like a good like 8-minute Uber ride in in Chicago is like $38. It's insane.
Jeez.
Like
Oh my
it's not
gosh.
affordable whatsoever. And you can't drive there because I mean it's terrible. So like no.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna skip that one. Well, dang, that kind of ruins the rest of the hot dog questions. Because I was just gonna go through some toppings. I guess we could just take a
Well,
look and.
we can do the toppings, pretend it's not
All right,
brat.
we can roll through the toppings. We can roll through the toppings. I got them right here. Okay, so uh, I only like I'll tell you which ones I'm down with as well. So ketchup on a hot dog. Like I'll eat it, but I don't prefer it.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't like I mean that's basic. I can get behind that.
Like you like ketchup in general?
It I don't not as much as I used to when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, I loved ketchup on stuff just because I had like no idea how to eat when I was a kid. But
Mhm.
now I'm like, it's fine.
So since you haven't had Whataburger before, and I want to see if it changes your opinion on ketchup, get that spicy ketchup, friend.
Okay. Oh, I love spicy ketchup. I will. Spicy ketchup is better than regular ketchup by far.
That's all I get now is the Whataburger spicy ketchup. It's
Yeah.
what's in my fridge, yeah. Onions on a hot dog.
Probably not. That's
I'm
a
not. I'm not an onion guy at all.
so I like onions, but on a hot dog is just kind of weird. I don't.
Yeah, that's like that's full out Chicago stuff up there. They
Yeah.
throw the onions on it and they love it. onions, tomato slices, whatever.
That's weird.
Uh,
That's very weird. I
yeah,
don't see. I don't. Yeah, I don't mess with that.
yeah. The Chicago dogs will scare you away. Yeah. Chili.
No,
You down with some chili? No, not a
no, I
chili
don't.
guy.
Growing up in Ohio, we had this thing called Skyline. It's
Uh,
terrible. It's the worst place of all time. A lot of people like it. I think it's abysmal and disgusting. But yeah, so that really soured me to chili. Like
dang,
there is good chili for sure, but for the most part, like chili that gets put on hot dogs is nasty, and I can't get with
dang.
it.
Okay. Well, here comes the. I don't think you said you didn't like this one, but mayo, right? You didn't like
Yeah,
mayo.
no, not on hot dogs. Not on hot
Somebody, I
dogs.
saw somebody had mentioned it. I don't remember where I saw it, but talking about mayonnaise on a hot dog, and I was like, people really do that? So I just had to ask. But that's disgusting. Whoever does do that, shame on you if you're a person that does that.
I agree in full.
Mustard, we agree that we like mustard. Mustard is my go-to on a hot dog, and I don't even get regular hot dogs anymore. I get jalapeno and cheese, but you wouldn't be down with the cheese, but it's pretty gas.
Yeah,
It's pretty
jalapenos would be good, but yeah, no, the everything else not so much.
good. Okay, so I'm gonna skip this next one. It's got cheese in it. Ranch on a hot dog.
No, hell no.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody does that. I just had to throw in a weird one to see if ranch is pretty versatile in my opinion, but on a hot dog, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I can't get with that.
And this next one kind of gets, kind of lines up with the Chicago theme with all the things that they throw on a hot dog. And I might try it if it was handed to me, but maybe only with some mustard on it. Bacon.
That just feels like too much.
It
So
does kind of feel like too much, but I'm kind
bacon
of
is like
interested because
fine as a
bacon.
taste and whatnot, but in terms of like putting on top stuff, America overdoes it with bacon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not as down with the bacon wraps and stuff that everybody else is. The
Yeah.
wrapped pepper with the stuff. I don't know what else is in it, but yeah, it's a little too much. Sauerkraut. I'm not a sauerkraut guy.
No, not really.
That's them Chicagoans. They like to do that nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I think this is another thing they try out in Chicago. I'm referencing Chicago a lot because this is where they love to make these weird hot dogs. Mac and cheese on a hot dog.
No.
Doesn't sound like the way to go.
Yeah, no, not for me.
Relish.
No, I hate relish. It's worse
Ooh.
than pickles.
Oh man,
Straight up.
that's
Literally.
okay. I get it. It's kind of like ooey gooey, and if you
Yeah.
don't like pickles,
Texture
you
terrible, taste terrible. No. No, sir.
if you don't like pickles, you definitely won't like relish. So I
No
shouldn't
way
even
in
ask
hell.
that one.
Yeah.
And not down with tomatoes on it, right?
No. Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
that's yeah. I saw those weird hot dogs today and just had to throw those in there. See where your thoughts were on that. Well, that my friend is what's on Drew's mind. Your food takes, which I can't wait to see the rest of them as they come along. And
You say that now, but yeah.
National Hot Dog Day. No, I genuinely enjoy, and it's a weird type of satisfaction when I see the tweet and it's got like one or two retweets and like 28 quote tweets. I'm like, yes, like are they going in on him or are they like on his side being disgusting? Like what's going on here? Like
Yeah.
which way is it? I'm just so interested to read them all.
It's hard to tell sometimes. You never know.
Yeah.
It's always a wild ride to put it bluntly.
Yeah, I always, it's like a coin toss when you see that many quote tweets versus like barely any retweets. It's like, what could they be saying?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
on to some WNBA, my friend. WNBA side of things, playoffs coming close. We talked about it a little bit earlier before the show, but playoffs coming in soon. Got about 10 games for most teams or less, somewhere in that range. 10 to 11, and one team this morning, as a matter of fact, secured their playoff spot, and that is the defending champion Chicago Sky, already with, I believe it's four more wins than they had finished last season with. Excuse me. And did that and won this morning without Courtney Vandersloot. But we want to talk about the kind of upper echelon versus the bottom tier
Mhm.
of this kind of playoff battle here. And we know where our bottom fighters are here, kind of 6 through 11. If you want to count the Liberty, probably do. It's just a one game difference between them and the Lynx. We'll say they're in it. because they're only about 2 games out of the 8th spot. So they very well could turn it around as well. So 6 through 11, and probably 1 through 4, and those are the teams that don't have double-digit losses. And I want to ask you, Mark, would you put the Mystics in the top half or the bottom?
Oh, I would put them in the top half.
Top half.
I think especially too, just like considering like the defense is awesome and the offense really can go through some walls, but a lot of that is because of when Elena's been out. And now she's, if I remember correctly, she's going to be on every single what is the word? Like she's going to be playing the rest of the season.
Right,
So
no more rest.
like they've fully ramped her up now. So I would have them comfortably in the top half.
Right. So I'm glad I referenced that bet on, DraftKings for you guys. Go get that Mystics bet. Mark is high on
Okay,
them.
I'm not saying that they're going to win a title, although they are. I guess now that I think about it, from an actual betting perspective, like I do think they would be like the team to bet on in terms of
Oh
like okay,
yeah.
especially considering like how the playoffs can go in the W, it being normally like a slightly shortened one. There's more variance, especially if the Mystics are healthy. Like, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, and now you got the series now, 3-5-5, and uh, like you said, they are healthy, and you want the best coaches when it comes down to a series in the playoffs, and they've got one of the best in the business in Coach Mike Tebow, and I actually put a put a championship bet on preseason when they were plus 1,400, so I hope that pans out. Go Mystics, go get EDD another championship. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's a pretty heated race, and the top. We can start from the top since there's less teams up here at the top compared to what's fighting down here at the bottom. Um, let's go ahead and continue on the Mystics here. What kind of team are you looking to see in the final stretch run here? And do you expect them to stay at this 5 spot, or do you expect them to climb a little bit?
That's a good question. I think climbing is going to be hard.
Yeah.
Just seeing like I mean, they're not that far behind. I want to say they're two games back. It's 1.5 or 2 games back of Seattle right now in the 5
One and a half.
spot. What's up?
1.5.
Oh yeah. So like it doesn't seem like a lot, but given where the season's at right now, how well Seattle's been playing, same thing with the Sun. I feel like it's gonna be hard. Like I would have to, cross reference what the remaining schedules are for both teams, but
Right.
like we're talking about the Mystics having to finish out like 7-3 or better to actually probably close the gap on the Storm because I don't see the Storm going less than 500 unless an injury pops up, which God forbid. I hope that doesn't happen because it happened on last year. But one thing that does help, they play a back-to-back against the Storm to close out July. So that will be really interesting to watch and see how that goes. Holy crap. I am looking at the Mystics closing schedule, and it is very difficult. So they play it starts easy, then there's a hard stretch, and then it closes well. Liberty, Wings, Storm back-to-back, Aces, Sky in a 5-game stretch. Like that's a lot. And they play the Sparks and then 2 games against the Fever. So they have a chance to pad at the end. But in terms of like that's not a fun schedule for them.
No,
I
no, not at
do
all.
not love that for them. But at the same point, that is a really good opportunity for them to actually ratchet up the standings because that's the only way they really can. Like they have to win games against the teams that are up there if they're going to take a jump up. I think it's possible. So again, like especially with Elena playing and being healthy, like ridiculous that she wasn't an all-star. I get games agree, but the outcry that was made over DT should have been made over Elena, for being completely honest.
I can't believe there was outcry over D2.
It was ridiculous as hell, man. Don't get me started. But obviously, gold medal league should have been on without a doubt, and Kelsey was too. But like,
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like this Mystics team, a lot's going to depend on how the last month of the season goes. But I mean, they're a very real title contender for me, especially with like I think the first month of the season when they looked like the best team in basketball. I don't want to say that that's like their true form or whatever, but I do think we saw, for at least for me, I feel like I got more out of who they were in the first month of the season than I have over this last month.
Interesting. And we might as well go back up the poll here from 5 to 4. Reference to Seattle Storm. Seattle, struggled with injuries early, but has gotten it together. Is arguably the best defensive team in the league, even though they just lost to the Sky this morning without Cordy Vandersloot. Still a pretty sound defensive team and a really good offensive team with an MVP candidate in Stewie. Um, what's the next step for the Storm to show that they can contend for a title again and really possibly actually send Sue out on another championship?
That's a good question. I mean, they've been the best defense in basketball for much of the season. Them and the
Hmm.
Mystics have been kind of swapping back and forth, but especially with just like actual firepower, like having Stewie, who I would have as defensive player of the year right now. Ezzy
Same.
Magbegor has taken another step, and she's been really good. And as awesome as her like steals and blocks are, like what Stewie does defensively is like I just think that gets so underrated. Like
Yeah.
obviously, again, like the actual events creation is really nice. She's in the top 5 in steals and blocks as well. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, just in terms of actual deterrence and timing and everything, she's so freaking good. But
Yeah.
again, it's the offense. Like they're still trying to figure out how to balance things out with Tina Charles off the bench, I think,
Hmm.
which was a little bit of an issue today. I didn't get to watch the game in full, but I saw some snippets and, from talking to people as well. She played probably a little bit more than was beneficial for the team. Um, it's really hard to integrate somebody who is that good, but also
A
plays a different
liability
style than you
defensively.
do. Yeah, I mean, she does not fit what they do defensively at all.
Right.
So trying to find that balance has been weird. Like Jewel Lloyd just hasn't been herself this year, being frank. Like she's still a very good player. Like the one of honestly, like without taking into account this season, which you can't like fully not take into account, but like she's a top 10 player in the sport. Like that's
Hmm.
honestly underselling her too. But they really need her to hit her sweet spot as the season rounds out. Um, it's just like again, like I think kind of like we talked about with the Lakers early, like I think this is a team with a lot of players where it's hard for them to find their best stretch playing 5 players who are all two-way players at the same time. Like that's they have struggled to find that blend. Like I think they really had something going with Gabby Williams running more of the offense, especially like getting out on the break, running in transition, um,
Hmm.
leading some of the offense for like a 6 or 7 game stretch before the Tina Charles deal happened. And since then, again, it's been kind of like it's been a little bit harder to see how it plays out. So a lot of this is just like relying on Jewel and Stewie being awesome. And for the most part, that works because Jewel and Stewie are awesome. But like
Yeah.
at the same point, I still don't feel great about what their half court offense is right now.
Do you think it was a good or bad decision to add Tina Charles to the mix?
I think it was the right decision. I mean, like again, I think you can look back on this and be like, oh, this didn't work out. But also,
Mhm.
I mean, not to be harsh, but like, okay, are you winning with Jantel Lavender in her minutes instead? Like, not that she
Fair.
can't fit in and do things well, but at the same point, it's just kind of like they needed somebody who can maybe ignite some things in the half court for them. Um, and it might not work out, but again, I think it's a worthwhile gamble for sure, considering the level of player Tina still is.
And continue the trend going up. Connecticut Sun at the number 3 spot currently, 17-9. Actually, I mean Seattle and Connecticut were technically tied, actually, but
Mhm.
Seattle on the front end of it here. Um, or Connecticut. Sorry, goodness, I'm fumbling. Connecticut on the front end of it here. Connecticut here, a very different, team here with no Jasmine Thomas, different kind of guard unit up top this year. Some more Natisha Heidemann minutes, and a very dominant front court trio, a three-headed monster, if you will. Recently, just talked to one of our reporters at the lead, Kayla Dos Santos, who covers the Connecticut Sun for us, and she just actually wrote a piece about who the most important player is. I didn't give my answer on it, but Connecticut Sun, they can ill afford for one of those, or definitely two of those, players at that three-headed monster there being, Alyssa Thomas, Jonquil Jones, and Bree Jones, to have a bad game. Um, so I mean, they're very reliant on them, and they're heavy in the win shares department. One thing that she noted in her piece is how reliant that team is on all three of them, and Well, they're a good team still. I mean, it's a good basketball team. John Quell's not scoring as much as she was last year, but she's still, being really effective on both ends. And B Jones is, coming into her own. She's bound for six player of the year, unless Rebecca Gardner snags that thing. But B Jones an All Star again. But Connecticut here in the fourth spot. How are you feeling about Connecticut and their depth? And what they can do to finish the stretch of the season.
Well, yeah, it's been interesting. Just to give my bit, I think to me, AT's been their best player this year. Like she's awesome. I love AT,
Dap you
man.
to the
Like I
screen. I'm
can't
right there
actually
with you.
remind me to tell you something after we're off, but like, yeah, she's awesome. The defense has been really good. Like she's in the running for defensive player of the year. She's not going to win it, I think, because Stewie to me, like it would be Stewie or Asia. Like even with the aces fall off defensively, Asia's been awesome.
Right.
Um, and they've just been that far ahead of the class. But like what she's done as a playmaker for this team, especially with Jasmine out, like I've just been so impressed. Like I think a lot of people look and be like, yeah, well, she's limited as a scorer and she's not really a lead ball handler and this and that. I'm like, well, I don't care. Like to me, what she has done has been really impressive. Like this is a team that
Oh
played
yeah.
extremely slow, extremely methodical last year, and they really upped their pace this year, largely because of what Alyssa brings. And they played on the backs of that, and it's worked really well for them.
Yeah.
Because again, their half court offense is kind of a struggle at times.
Mhm.
Like actually finding a real balance in the half court. Like you mentioned, I think they've one of the things that's been really hard with this team is that they do not have a great way to set up John Quell, but also I don't think that they do a great job of prioritizing it at times. Like
Mhm.
it's difficult because if you're not running your primary actions through Alyssa Thomas or Bree Jones, the spacing can get kind of muddy. Like Bree Jones is a good spacer. Alyssa's good at making herself active and like setting impromptu screens and stuff. But John Quell's the only one who's really getting guarded out to three. And even
Mhm.
then, like I think teams are a lot more willing to let her shoot threes than to get inside and do damage because of how good of and versatile of a scorer she is on the interior.
Mhm.
Um, so like as good as that three is, it's still just like to me, it's never quite felt like they really fit offensively yet. And I think part of what's difficult is having Jasmine there. That's the exact player you want setting the three of them up. And like you mentioned, I think Natisha Hyman's like made really good strides, but she's really more of a combo guard. Like she's
Mhm.
a good passer, not a great passer. Like Jasmine's one of the better passers in the league. She's a really good pick and roll ball handler. She's a capable spacer. Obviously very good defensively too. But I liked adding Bria Hartley. I think Bria Hartley can do again, not going to be like Jasmine, but I think she brings a lot of the same things that Tisha does. And just having another player who can capably set up an offense and then move off ball is important, especially again, like we're talking about a team where your three best players ideally are not the ones handling the ball in the half court. Um, so it's been interesting, but I'm excited to see what they look like in the playoffs because I think they have a little bit more up their sleeves this year. Like Dejanay Carrington's been really good. Her shot's fallen off a little bit recently. She had a really good game yesterday though, but she just brings more. Like the energy's really good. Um, like you mentioned, I mean, Bree Jones has been awesome. She's gonna
Mhm.
kill it in the playoffs, but I think this is kind of like we have a lot of the same questions as last year. I feel like,
Yep.
so it's just kind of figuring out, okay, is Dewana going to play well in the playoffs? That's question number one. How is Courtney Williams going to look? Because she is very hot and cold to me. Like I think, so much of what's difficult with them, as awesome as Courtney Williams can be, she's really much more about getting her own offense going. And that's, I think some people would imply that as being selfish. To me, that's how she sees the game. It's how she plays the game. Is her game is a lot more about pick and roll but scoring out of it instead of necessarily setting people up. So if
Mhm.
her game isn't really getting off, if her pull-ups aren't hitting, then the offense really doesn't hit the same way. Like they're not great at getting to the rim, which is wild to say for like you mentioned off rip. Like this is a team within like the best front court in basketball. Um, and they struggle to put pressure on the rim at times, which is like it's a wild dichotomy. So again, like they're the team where I feel like has the most variance to me because I just am not entirely sure how to feel about them. So
Number two.
that was a big run on, but yeah,
No, you're good. I mean, Connecticut Sun will, oftentimes have you talking your head off for a while because you just don't know what to make of them sometimes.
yeah.
Number two seed Las Vegas Aces, 18-8, but bark this team sometimes this season, and I believe this has been something they've done in the past too. They have, really, really, really good moments, and then they have some just clunkers where they just get like punched in the face. and just have some games where they're just losing. And they had a blowout loss. Who was that loss to? Not too long ago, a 20-plus point just domination. I don't remember who it was to, but they just lost recently again to the Dream. I think that was a 15-plus point loss. But questions surrounding this team, like this team is really talented. It started off really hot. They've got a good new coach. Age is playing at MVP level. Kelsey is really coming to her own. But can they get it done? Can this team finally get to the mountaintop and win a championship? Um, the question really is, though, have is this are the starters playing too many heavy minutes already? Are they going to have enough gas to go through the playoffs to be able to get a championship?
So I think to me, it's probably less about the minutes and more about the what happens when you're bringing the bench in.
Mhm.
Like I think Raquan Williams is a fine bench player and she can make things work. But then I mean, Ileana Rupert has been very fun for me, and I'm excited about her moving forward. And I think she's done some positive things this year. But again, like it's really only 7 players in your rotation, and I think that can be a little bit more mitigated in the playoffs. But the bigger problem for me has been keeping the ball in front. Like they really have struggled. Like they've mixed up what they've done defensively a lot this year, and I haven't liked it, frankly. I think part of it is like their defense to me, like again, their defense was only in like the top, I think they were like fourth at their best early on in the year. But I wrote about it early in the year too, because like it looked good. Like they were extremely active. Asia was playing pretty close to the level of the screen. They were doing a lot of like obviously a lot of switching, but it's mostly like playing some more aggressive defense that's not fully switching. Like there's a lot of two to the ball, a lot of show and recover,
Mhm.
kind of similar to what the Storm do, but in a different way. And I liked that a lot because especially for what their personnel is, being a little bit smaller, being quicker, um, I think that works for them. And then they've really after they kind of had a point in the season where they're just like, all right, well, we're going to start playing drop all the time now, or we're just going to switch things. And I don't like it. Like I think part of it is maybe just trying to be easier on themselves because they know what it looked like playing that way. But I also don't really get just fully going away from that. So I think the biggest thing for me in looking at them is do they get back to that? Because that's how they really got the most out of their offense is by getting out and running because of turnovers forced and the stops they were able to get. And their half court offense again, like I think similarly with the Sun, they have issues in actually um, setting themselves up in the half court. But at the same point, like okay, Chelsea Gray, Asia Wilson, like I'm not really too worried about that team figuring it out. To me, it's just a lot more about keeping themselves in the game by actually making things work defensively. So I'm curious to see what happens as they get to the closer to the playoffs or in the playoffs. Like, do they go back to what was really working for them, or is this just kind of what they're doing now? And I hope not, because that would have me mightily disappointed after what we saw early on in the year.
5-5 in their last 10 games. Number one seed Chicago Sky up next secured a playoff berth today. First team in the league to 20 wins, 20-6 on the year. More wins already than last season. Uh, beat who was it this morning? Beat the Seattle Storm this morning without Courtney Vandersloot. What do you make of this team, who is the hottest team in the WNBA right now on a 5-game win streak, and looking to possibly be the first team to repeat in a long time?
This team is just clicking right now. They are like my guilty pleasure watch. I love watching them play basketball.
Yes, sir.
Like Candace Parker has been unreal this season. Like she again, like
My
right up
favorite
there
player.
with Asian and Stewie. For she would be like third for me. Well, I'm trying to think how I would do in my head. I'd probably have her second actually, ahead of
Ooh,
Asia right now, right behind Stewie. Like she's been that good
man.
defensively this year.
We'll be
Um,
clipping that.
yeah, well, good because it's true. Like
Yeah,
I'm there. Like she's been that good defensively this year. The passing's
down
been
with
really
it.
good, of course. The scoring's been fantastic. Like she's just having a really damn good year. But Emma Meesman's been awesome. Like the way that she's
Oh
fit in,
yeah.
the way like I mean they run a ton of like slot and elbow actions through their bigs to get the most out of their off ball movement and just collective passing overall. The team shot, I think they were 11th or 12th in the league in 3-point shooting over the first month of the season. So their
Mhm.
offense looked kind of rough, gummed up. And they've shot like, I mean, they now have, I think, 6 players shooting over league average from three. And that's after starting that poorly. So I'm not really too worried about how that looks. Like their offense has really hit. Kalia Copper has been awesome. Courtney Vandersloot has been fantastic. Um, Rebecca Gardner, you mentioned earlier, like she's one of my favorite players in the league to watch. Her defense is incredible. She's a good passer. She just is a really good cutter, scores well. It just like fits like a glove in this offense. I think
Mhm.
the biggest question slash thing for me is what happens between Julie Allemon and Dana Evans down the stretch, because that's been the one thing that really hasn't found itself out. Like Dana Evans looked awesome like the first couple games of the season. Then Julie Allemon came back over from playing in the French league, and she's been fine. But I also think they expected her to be a lot more, and I have as well,
Mhm.
frankly. Like she's really
Yeah.
good running the offense, but she's been very gun shy from three, which is just odd to me considering she took, I think, what, like 6.5 threes per game in the bubble and was awesome there. Like I want her to get back to that. Like there are moments for her to be way more aggressive and take more shots. It would be better for the offense. Um, but again, like that's kind of what's ridiculous about this team. Like they're just like, okay, well, yesterday they went to Dana Evans instead of Julie Almond off the bench, and they won. Or no, that was today. It feels like yesterday, but um, like they have the embarrassment of riches on their roster. Like honestly, like their second unit is almost a starting lineup in the league. Like Azrae
Yeah.
Stevens would start for like 6 or 7 teams in the W right
Right.
now. And we didn't even mention her. She's been incredible. Like she's a
Hmm.
big part of why they can be so versatile in their lineups and what they do, but meaningfully versatile too. Like they are able to keep doing what they do, but bring it with new looks as well. And it's just awesome, man. I love watching this team play. They're so talented. They have a good group. It's just fun to watch.
I sure hope they can get Candace another ring. That'd be awesome.
I
Big
agree.
Candace Parker fan. Okay, let's dive into this bottom half. We'll start with the upper echelon teams and work our way down. We say upper echelon just by current, place in the standings. Number 6, Atlanta Dream, 12-14 on the season. People have been calling for Tanisha Wright for Coach of the Year because this team we did not expect to be in the mix really of the playoffs this season. Knew Ryan Howard would come in and be a good player. Nobody expected All Star immediately, probably. But this team is in the playoff mix. Very much have a good chance to make it. They just had a good win over the Aces, and they are looking to make the playoffs. Mark, so what do you make of this Atlanta team, and can they make it in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they can. They're the team. If I had to pick a team from the bottom, which I mean, again, this is not saying much considering what the bottom comprises of, but like if I had to pick a team from the bottom to really give a team hell and potentially win a first round, it would be Atlanta. Like I
Okay.
mean, we saw them do it yesterday. Like Tip Hayes back with this team just makes them a whole
Does she
other
have
level.
31 right the other day?
She's been insanely good since she came back. Well, last night was like her best game. She's been so good. Like, and she's a good defender too. She's a quality passer. Um, Easily the best scorer on the team. Like what she does, adding in what she brings, like makes it easier on everyone else, particularly on Ryan. Like I think seeing that yesterday was a huge thing. Like Ryan scored, I think 9 points in the first quarter, and a lot of that was because the defense was so occupied with trying to contain Tip Hayes off the dribble.
Hmm.
She just makes them make more sense, and it's really fun to watch. Like I honestly think like that team, I would not that's the team I like least want to face in the first round if I'm one of the top 4 seeds, because I think that's an actually very dangerous matchup for some teams because they're so good at just staying solid defensively. Again, like a lot's going to depend on like, okay, well, if you are able to gum things up offensively on them, yeah, they're going to be in trouble. But also, I think that's going to be harder to do now. So yeah, I'm very in on this Atlanta team. I'm actually hoping to get down there and do a story on them at some point. I'd say at some point with 3 weeks left in the season, but it's gonna happen. But yeah, no, they've been one of my favorite teams. I mean, I've enjoyed watching every team, but like they've been one of my favorites to watch all season.
Right. Hey, I called they were going to be a league pass team this year for sure. So
You
they're
were right.
definitely a good team to watch. Let's slide on down to the very interesting and always questionable number 7, tied at 7 seed Los Angeles Sparks. This team has gone through a coaching change already this season with Derek Fisher parting and heading on out, and Fred Williams taking over and kind of manning things here in LA and keeping it afloat, but still having some trouble as well. They've had some injury issues as well as still just trying to figure it out. But one thing that remains constant with this team, Mark, Neka Gumake. She just went crazy in the last recent game, always being efficient, being a model of consistency, and the ultimate fundamental in the game here in the WNBA. But the Sparks, as a whole, playoffs as a playoffs have eluded them a bit lately, and with the teams that are awakening below them, can they stay in the playoff mix and actually make it this time?
Yeah. I do just want to reiterate what you said. Like, I got to talk to NECA at All Star, and she talked about, her approach to this season and how she kind of reworked what she was doing in the off season. And she was, first of all, awesome person. Like, I love talking to her.
Absolutely.
But also, like you mentioned, like, I think I've seen like some pushback to like people calling her an MVP candidate. Like, no, she's not going to win MVP because the Sparks are 11-14, but she's been awesome, man. Like, she's been one of the 5 best players in the league this year without
Oh
question, man.
yeah.
Like, she's been that good. They obviously need to rip off some wins here if they really want to make noise in the playoffs. I think it's possible. Like, they have, I don't want to say they've hit a stride, but their offenses look better. I think the defense has still been a work in progress, but um, maybe helps having Liz out for a little bit. But like, I just, I think that there's enough talent on this team here to make some things interesting. I actually have a story coming out on them tomorrow, so I'm not just telling lies to
Hey.
hype them up, but yeah, I mean, like, I'm looking through the rest of their schedule right now. Okay, it's not super easy. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Well, they I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll know what they're really made of over the next week, because they play
Yeah.
the Dream, play the Aces, and then they play Mercury, Lynx, then Liberty, Dream. Yeah, it's like, I mean, again, like, part of what's so difficult about the W is, like, other than playing the Fever, none of these games are really easy, and even then, the Fever are like feisty this year. It's not last year's Fever, so
Right.
um, but I mean, what do I hope to see from this team as they close out? Um, I mean, just finding their defense again, because that's been the biggest disappointment for me this year. Is like, I mean, they went from being, I just knew last year I was going to get awesome defense from them, and it just hasn't hit the same this year. And again, I think a lot of that is personnel changes, mostly Liz Cambage, and changing
Mhm.
that up and what that looks like. But the defense should be a lot better than it has been, if we're being frank. So I'm hoping that they can kind of rein in and find some of that. Like, even just in July, they're third worst in defense, which is disappointing.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. TBD. We'll see on them. They still haven't really hit a stride that's made me super excited about them.
Fair enough. Let's see if you got some more thoughts about the team that's tied with them in the standings at 11-14. Those very problematic Dallas Wings. Dallas very much, unfortunately staying true to their nature and not being able to put things together consistently here. 11-14 the standings. 5-8 home record, and some unhappy players, it seems like at
Hmm.
times, and
Yeah.
very inconsistent rotations here, in very inconsistent defense, and just inconsistency kind of from top to bottom. But Mark, what do you really make of this? We've had a lot of discussions about this team, outside of the show. Um, but what do you make of this team? And just so you know, I did in their last 16 games. I think I told you that I predicted that they finished probably 8-8,
Yeah.
and they're pretty much they're on pace for that right now, just kind of trading games. And I think I also mentioned maybe the worst end was also likely at like 7-9, and I think they're 2-3 right now since the break, or in those when I started that last 16 game window. So they've played 5 since, and they're 2-3, I believe. So they're working their way there. But what are your overall thoughts on the team, and what do you not like about what they've been doing, and do you think this team can make the playoffs again?
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think they can make the playoffs, and they probably will. But
Hmm.
I'm, well, I guess maybe saying probably will is too much. Like,
Ooh.
actually, now that I think about it, the Lynx will probably pass them in the standings. Now that I think about it,
Ooh.
I don't think that that's
Okay.
out of pocket at all. Like, the Lynx have been playing,
No, it's not out
really
of pocket.
well.
I just like
Um,
to be dramatic.
no, I was just saying it more to myself. Like, I think
Yeah.
I my bet for who makes the last 2 playoff spots would be probably LA and the Lynx.
Mm,
Even
okay.
though I don't think LA is like that great, like I just think like they have been consistent-ish enough. Like I don't have any faith in the Mercury, who we'll talk about. The Liberty are so far away from actually making it happen. Um, yeah. I My issue with the Wings is that I just don't know who they are, and I don't think. I mean,
They don't
I
either.
don't think like they don't know who they are either, which
Nope.
is the problem. Like we talked about this earlier in the year, I made the mistake of writing that I thought they had an identity 7 games into the year because it looked like they did. Like
Mm,
they were playing fantastic fucking basketball. They were, I think, the second or third best defense in the league, playing extremely aggressive defense, using Isabel Harrison as like a very aggressive hedger, doing a lot of stuff with long rotations and just being active. And it worked really well. The offense struggled and was like trying to find its way still, but the defense was fantastic. Like that game against Connecticut early in the year, I'll hammer that home forever. Like that game felt like just a totally different game. But now Isabel Harrison is like an afterthought on the team. And I honestly, I try and be fair, like not just because I like Izzy as like a person and player, but like just legitimately from a basketball standpoint, the de-emphasis of her this year has been weird. Like
yeah.
it just she went from being a player who looked like a borderline all-star for the first like 7, 8 games to Vicky just being like, "Oh well, I'm gonna stop playing you as much." And like Tierra McCowan got that one start, and then, again, this is not meant as like shade at Tierra or anything, but I just think like Izzy is a better player than her for what the Wings were trying to do at the beginning. I would probably say she's a better player overall, anyways. But um, like they just made it. They started making it murky and weird, and then her minutes just started to decrease and decrease and decrease. And she still played pretty decently off the bench, but then Vicky had that comment about like, "Oh well, we can't get 20 and 10 from you one night, and then like 5 and 5 the next, and you have
Yeah.
to be consistent." I'm like, okay, but she was really consistent before you diminished her role. Like it was
Right.
just so weird, man.
Yeah.
Like I mean, and there have been good things on the team. Like Alicia Gray has been. I mean, to me, Alicia Gray is the best player on the team. Like I don't think that there's much question in that for me. I know a lot of people will point to Enrique. Enrique is very good. She's a good scorer, a great scorer. But like in terms of actually leading the offense, that's just been a problem. Like she's not a good passer. If her shot is not falling, the offense sucks. If we're being
Yeah.
honest, like it really gets stagnant. It doesn't work well. Things are a lot better when she's off the ball. Like I'd have to look up the minutes between her and when she and Veronica Burton share the court. But like even with Veronica being like a non-factor as a scorer, she just runs the offense pretty well and moves the ball. And like
Hmm.
I think even finding that between Marina and Enrique has been difficult. Like Marina's been a lot better running the offense this year, but that's more with her playing as the point guard. And honestly, like when she and Enrique are on the court, it feels like 90-10 that Enrique is the point guard and running things. Um, so again, there's so much mess with this team that I don't understand. And now like everything runs through Tierra McCowan. Like that we went away from that again like a game or two ago. And like it can be good. Like Tierra is she's a dominant post scorer. Like there are very few players in the league who can guard Tierra one on one, but okay, in terms of players who are actually capable of setting up Tierra while giving her proper spacing, it's like not really there. And
Yeah.
it's also just kind of a misuse of talent if you have Enrique and Marina out there and you're like, well, we're just going to dump the ball into Tierra. And like a lot of the sets can just be like, teams see it coming from like a mile away. Like, oh, you're just going to run Tierra off a cross screen and have her post up on the right block and dump it to her. And then you're going to try and score there. Like there's no flow in the offense.
Nope.
Part of it too that's been difficult. Like the injuries have sucked. Injuries have really hurt that team too. Like
Yeah.
Satu being out for as long as she has, who can also be the best player on the team when she's healthy. Like it's just there's so much going on here that it's frustrating. Like I feel like I mean, you and I have talked about this so many times this year. It's just like there's a lot more talent here than an 11 and 14 team, but it just has not fit or worked out. And it's just too much. Like the front court has just been a nightmare in trying to figure out
Yeah.
what's even going on there.
You know what's crazy is I feel like, and I'd have to go back and like really dig into this to like make for sure, but this seems like it seems like a regular thing where one player goes from being like a vital piece of what they do to being like completely shut out. So
Yeah.
last year, prime example, Marina Mabry. She went from being a starter, perennial scorer like her and Enrique were a dominant, backcourt duo to she barely play or she's coming off the bench now sixth woman a little bit to seventh to eighth, and just kind of floating around there for the rest of the year. And everybody's just like, it doesn't make sense. And that same thing is kind of happening to Izzy now. That just doesn't make any sense as to why you're doing it. And both scenarios. So last year when Marina was going crazy, it was working for him. And early in the year when Izzy was hot in those first 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5 games, it was working for him. That was when they started off the year 4-1, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and undefeated on the road. So just not adding up there at all. And you mentioned Saw too, and I did mention this to you, and I hope I feel like a jinx now that I said this to you,
Oh
talking
no.
about her games played since she's been in the league. So far this season, Satu has played 11 games, and the Wings have played 25 games this season, and they're gonna have 11 more. Satu has to play 9 of those 11 games to play 20 games in a season for the first time in her WNBA career. So she's got to come back in the next 2 games and play almost all of them. So, I mean, it's just kind of concerning, even though the crazy part is coming into the year, I was kind of, leery of Satu's Achilles that has been like a little bit of a hampering thing the past couple of years where she had missed some time just for, soreness. It was never a tear or anything, but just having to sit out because that was sore or whatever. And, this year it's a knee, now it's an ankle. Um, it's just hopefully she can get up to being healthy, but too much time spent on the Wings here. We can do that another time. Number 9, Phoenix Mercury. Already said you're not too high on them, and I can understand why. This team it happens to have a better home record than the Dallas Wings, 7-5, but they're tumultuous on the road and in most departments of basketball. Skylar Diggins Smith has been the only reason this team is even moderately relevant this year. Without BG and free BG, their defense is pretty atrocious. DT has not had a good season, and they just, I mean, all the drama within the team as well. Comments from the coach, Skylar not going along with it, quoting something coach said, and put the clown emoji.
Yeah.
So drama within the team, and already the drama with Tina Charles to get her the buyout to get her out of there. What do you make of the Phoenix Mercury, and are they bound to try and they might as well go for the number 1 pick next year, or should they try and do this playoff thing?
Yeah. This team, it doesn't really seem like they like each other that much, if we're
At all?
being honest. Like the Wings, I feel like the Wings is just like the team has too many players who need the ball. I don't think it's a them not like I can't speak on everything in the locker room. It feels a lot less like this team hates each other than like this just doesn't fit and they know it.
Hmm.
Phoenix legit just feels like they don't like each other. Like
Yeah.
clearly the stuff between Skylar and DT, like that's not overblown. It doesn't feel like in the slightest. What's so frustrating too is like Skylar has been incredible this season. Like what should have been an all-star starter. We know why she was an all-star starter because of 14th in player voting, but
Man, that was crazy.
like she's been one of the probably 8 best players in the league this year. She
Hmm.
should be like probably second team all W for me. It's hard to be first when your team is this bad, but
Yeah.
I think it's been tough because like Diamond has had a good season, but her shot is just like totally gone from outside. I think the defense has been a lot better from her, but like the Mercury overall, like you mentioned, you hit it on the head. Um, the defense has been better with Brianna Turner playing the 5 full time because she's still been amazing defensively because it's Brianna Turner. But
Hmm.
like you mentioned, I mean, this whole team was built around BG on both ends. So not having her is just like, um, again, it's not to excuse everything for the Mercury. It's more to just be honest. Like this, just like bring BG home because this is still just getting ridiculous. But um, like, okay, Sophie Cunningham's playing the 4 and she can do some okay things on the ball defensively and make rotations, but she's way too small to be playing the 4 most of the
Oh
time.
yeah.
And as good as it's been offensively, like you're still just giving up so much defensively. Um, like Shea Petty's been a nice story this year. She's done a lot that I have actually really liked, and I continue to be impressed with her growth every year. But again, like the team's not deep. The players who they have playing significant roles are overstretched for the most part. and it just hasn't been good basketball, and they don't seem to like each other. So this is like bad mix in all ways possible.
Just does not sound good. And Shea Petty she's been good for my fantasy basketball team. Shout
Mhm.
out to Shea Petty. Um, go ahead and slide down to that team that you are kind of high on that is now pretty much fully healthy and relatively hitting its stride, 6-4 in their last 10 games. And Ariel Powers has been a revelation for this team as of late. Been on an absolute scoring tear, minus the recent Wings game. I believe she had a stretch of like multiple 30-point games, and had some Lynx history behind Maya Moore. So AP's doing some big time things right now after a cold start with a lot on her shoulders
Mhm.
in Minnesota. But this team fully healthy, looking good. Got some solid wins. You said this team could be that 8th spot playoff team, or I mean, maybe not specifically 8th spot, but make one of those last 2 spots. And just tell me what you make of the Lynx and how really real those possibilities are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're on the way to it, if we're being honest. Like the offense, I'm trying to check again real quick. I believe yeah, so they're third in offense in July, and it's even better if you extrapolate it a little bit further out because they've just played very solid basketball, particularly since I want to say, yeah, so since June 21st, they are, if I can count, 7-4, which is good. Like considering how they started, I think they were 3-10 to start the year. Um, like that's a lot better.
Yeah,
Or no, it was 3-13 actually to start the year. So never mind.
pretty rough.
Yeah, very rough. So they've again like the defense still is kind of a work in progress. Having Syl back is huge. A lot. I still am not sure that Nafisa Kali is actually gonna be back this year. I would be kind of surprised. I know that they've like
Mhm.
made mention of it, but like what capacity should actually be back in is not something that I have like a good read on whatsoever. But like you mentioned, AP's been huge. Like she really struggled to start the year, having like way too much offensive burden on her shoulders to now like the shot's been falling. She set career highs back to back. If I remember correctly, I think it was
Yep.
32 and then 35. She's been balling. She's been playing really well, and that's been huge for them. Like the biggest thing for me too, Mariah Jefferson has like not gotten enough shine this year. She's been awesome. Like
Yeah.
again, talking about the Wings, like
She was
Mariah
the most
Jefferson's just
improved
been
player candidate
a
for a bit.
good starting point guard for them. Like she's really good at setting the offense, moving off the ball, flowing within it, and being a capable shooter from outside. Which, like, hey, that's the exact kind of player the Wings could use. But who am I to say? Um, but yeah, no, she's been awesome for them, and they've done a ton of stuff in terms of like not in the same thing, but like in a similar vein to how the Sky run their offense, like a lot of dribble handoffs at the elbows and or less elbows, more like in the slot. A lot of post playmaking. They really lean into what Jessica Shepard can do as a playmaking hub. And they've done that with Syl too, which has been awesome and something I'm really loving in their offense. They started the year just like posting up Syl a bunch, which makes sense. She's a really good post player, one of the best, if not the best of all time.
Mhm.
But okay, it's easy. It's a lot easier to defend somebody if you're just straight up posting them in the block. You can bring a double team easier.
Right.
They've been doing a lot more in terms of like her setting screens and rolling from the elbows or from the slots. Again, less elbows, more slots. I keep meaning to say slot, but like doing a lot more stuff with her on the perimeter to get her going downhill and get the ball in the move. That makes it a lot harder to defend her and much
Mhm.
easier to foul her.
Yeah.
Um, so they've just found a much better blend offensively that I've absolutely loved watching. And like Jessica Shepard being back on the bench, like she toasts bench units. So that whole team has just been really fun to watch. Um, I do think still like my biggest questions are more like, okay, can Demiris Dantas find anything? Because she has really struggled. Like it's been awesome to see her back, but she has not been good. Like 39% from the field, 26% from three. Um, that's tough. Or I mean, 39% from two. She's 30% from the field.
Ooh.
But yeah, so that's tough. They need more from her, especially because she's really integral to them being a good team. Kayla McBride still hasn't really even found her stride yet. Like she's had some better games recently, but she hasn't quite been that player offensively for them that they need. So again, like this team is playing really well, but they have more in the tank to find stuff. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I do think that they're going to be the last team to make it to the playoffs.
It almost feels like a jinx for players that have really good overseas seasons when they come
Yeah,
into the
a little bit.
W. Sawtoo, K Mac, you know.
Feels like it.
Yeah, but I believe in the Lynx too. Lynx are a good squad. I believe they could squeeze in there, and Wings, golly, get it together, man.
Yes,
And
please.
lastly, the one we're gonna talk about, and sorry, Fever, we're leaving you out here, but New York Liberty, 9-16, still kind of sort of in the mix, but they're on a 4-game losing streak. Kind of, pushing themselves further out of that mix. If they had, at least split that, they'd be, at 7-8 right now. Given more problems to everybody else. It's right in tight as well. But New York Liberty, they haven't had Laney all season, and I don't know if they're gonna get her back in enough of a capacity to help them out to finish the stretch of the season, or if she's gonna play at all. Um, but I think there's a possibility that she is coming back. Um, but is it too little, too late for the New York Liberty?
Uh, I kind of want to say it is. Like if Benaja came back like next week, okay, we're having a different conversation. But couple problems for me. Like they were really finding their groove last month. I was really excited about their direction. The offense
Hmm.
just kind of died out again. It hasn't been
Yeah,
like they went from being like the best offense in basketball for a couple weeks to falling off. And part of that has been like the shots have just died for a few people. Like I think Steph Dolson has like the shot's been there, but again, I think she's had some hit or miss games for sure. Rebecca Allen missing as much time as she had has definitely hurt them. Her being back is good, but again, like Crystal Dangerfield shot has fallen off inside and outside the arc, and she was really
yeah,
important for them getting things going. Marine Johannes hasn't been as hot as she was early on. Um, like Sab has still been really fucking good, but like the turnovers are they continue to be a big issue for this team. Like Natasha Howard has, in some ways, been tasked with doing too much, and I think that's part of the problem of like not even to say that she's a star player. Like she is a star player, but she's meant to be like the third star alongside Benaja and Sab. Like that's part of the problem. Like
yeah.
she's tasked with handling the ball way too much. She's really not a four to me. Like she moves like a four, but I
Mhm.
think her handle's really rough for somebody at the four. I was having this conversation with somebody today. Just because I said something about her footwork being good, like they're like, oh well, she falls all the time. Like, well, part of it, like her handle's like all over the place, and I think a lot of that's because she's a four. But like again, I think having Benaja back would change a ton of what this team looks like offensively.
Yeah.
But still, I think it's definitely like you mentioned, it's too little, too late. Like they haven't had wings almost the entire year, other than the minimal stretch when Jocelyn Wilby was healthy, and she's back now. But I think she played like 10 minutes yesterday morning, um, and will hopefully be back and in full capacity moving forward. But again, there's just like not quite enough here right now, and I'm hoping that changes up.
Yeah, hopefully so. Definitely going to be a very, very interesting race to finish the season. Game difference between the 6th seed and the 11th seed is just 2.5 games, Mark. So it's going to be a very fun and very heated and very competitive games down the stretch for seeding and teams fighting for the playoffs in the WNBA. And now, time to play a little game, Mark. You may or may not have heard about this illustrious, very famous. I'm just kidding. It's not very famous. This very fun though game that BJ and I play here called With It or Quit It. I ask you because we don't have a guest this time, but you are the guest host. 5 questions, and I just want to get your answer on all of them. They are no specific topic. I mean, they're everywhere. There might be some basketball in here. There might be some food in here. There might be some movies. There might be some toe in here. I don't know, but
Some what in here?
nothing. There's no toes. I promise.
Okay, I was about to say, whoa.
But there are some good questions. But we're gonna have some fun here. But you ready to rock?
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's do it. Question number one. The WNBA will have a new commissioner before it sees expansion. With it or quit it?
Probably quit it. I just would be surprised that happens considering expansion is supposed to happen within the next 3 years. So I doubt it.
Okay. Okay, yeah, a lot of people not happy with what Kathy said over All Star Weekend, calling for a new commish. So didn't know where everybody was on that, or if it was realistically possible before expansion happens. Probably more so, within a couple of years after, if at all, if anything, maybe.
Mhm.
Number two, in your personal opinion, you would prefer to watch a TV show versus a movie. With it or quit it.
Oh, quit it. I'd rather watch a movie.
Ah, okay.
I
Dang.
love movies, man.
Big
It's
movie
there's
guy.
more finality to it too. Like a TV show, you can watch 30 episodes. With the movie, I know. Well, obviously, like there are some like trilogies and stuff, but for the most part, like I know it's gonna be done. I feel like I can pay attention to a movie better than a TV show.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
because I
hey.
like dedicate to like TV shows, you just kind of like flip on if you're not doing anything. Like movies are
Yeah.
like I sit down and I know I'm gonna like not do anything for that time. Like I'm gonna
Well,
go see Nope tomorrow with one of my friends, which I'm very excited for. But
okay. Well, let me know how Nope is. I
I
want to check
will.
that out too.
I love Jordan Peele, so I'm excited.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, we might have the first quit it five Pete in this in these five lines of questions here. We'll see how it goes with these last three. Number three. Brittany Sykes was your favorite player to profile this season? With it or quit it?
Oh, man, that's so hard. I kind of that hurts. This hurts to answer.
Ooh,
I
you can
want to
you
say
can take the field or Brittany.
so I'm not gonna take the field, but I
Oh,
will say quit it because I loved
okay.
Brittany was awesome. She's one of my favorite people to talk to, and I want to talk to her again soon. But honestly, writing that story on Alicia Gray was my favorite thing this year. That's my favorite thing I've
Okay.
done.
Heck yeah, dude.
I was just amped about it because like I don't know. Part of the reason I really wanted not to like gush, but like I it was wild. Like I knew nothing about Alicia for the most part going in. Like I
Right.
went and I watched like all of her interviews and listened to her on podcasts and read up on her as well. But like I just didn't really know much about her as a person. And I feel like getting to, talking to Asia, talking to Don, talking to KT, talking to others, and actually getting to know who Alicia is because she's not somebody who likes to talk about herself. Like it was
Right.
cool. I really want to do more of that stuff. So yeah, I would have as amazing as Sykes was, it's gotta be doing that story on Leash for me.
Dude, I want to be able to do more of that too, dude. I hope I get to here pretty soon. So, yeah, leash is low key awesome. You just got to be able to get her out of her shell, and I was glad you were able to when you got to talk to her and write that story. And every time you talk about people that she loves or like someone that she loves, she lights up. So
Yeah.
she's easier to talk to when you're talking about those things with leash. She's awesome. And fun fact, she was my first WNBA interview. So
No
me
way.
and
I didn't know
me and
that.
me and Leash always got that connection.
Definitely.
Uh, Number four, the Atlanta Hawks have now, with the addition of Dejounte Murray, a top three backcourt in the NBA. With it or quit it?
I'm gonna quit that one. I do not. I do not agree with that. I think.
Ooh, he is very adamant
Yeah.
on this one.
Let me pull up some. I'm pulling up basketball reference right now. I don't. Yeah. No. I don't think that's a top
So
five.
Stephen Clay
You said top
is
three or top five?
top three. So Stephen
Top
Clay are
three.
up there.
Yeah. Even
Let's see
then, I
who
don't know
else
because I
is
don't.
up.
I
Who
think
else
Clay's
is
kind
up
of overrated,
there?
but
Ooh, man,
um,
this is
well, it'll be
spicy.
Phoenix. I think Phoenix is better.
Phoenix, yeah,
Chris
Chris
Paul and
Paul and
Booker for
Devin
sure.
Booker, yeah.
Um,
Dude, who
who
else we
else?
got out there? Uh,
Chicago, Levine and oh, Tomorrow's not technically a guard.
where are Brunson and RJ Barrett at now?
They're not a no,
Not the top three.
no, no, no.
Let's see. Oh, who else? I don't even know
Shoot,
about
maybe
this.
they are top
Heck,
three.
they
I'm
might
trying to think.
be.
This is hard.
Yeah,
Well,
this
okay, John Morant and Desmond Bain would be better than that for me.
really okay. You got
Yeah,
John Desmond Bain over Dejounte Murray and Trey Young, two All Stars. Oh.
maybe they are.
Ooh,
This is I
man.
maybe they do crack top three. This is tough.
Yeah, the backcourt combos aren't what they used to be. Dame and CJ are split up and all that. So, that's a backcourt that broke up. You don't have Luca and Brunson to fall back on or anything like that.
Yeah.
Garland doesn't really have a two guard out there really to note in Cleveland that you can mention. Harden. I don't know if you would include Harden and Maxi.
Actually, okay, Harden and Maxi. So I would have Atlanta fourth then, because I would have Harden and Maxi over Trey and Dejounte right now.
Okay, okay,
Um, so yeah, I'd have them fourth. So it's like it's almost with it.
right. But okay, four straight quitteds. Oh man. Well, well, you've already answered this one, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Number 5, the Minnesota Lynx make the playoffs.
With it. I'm
With
definitely
it
with
or
that.
quit it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
No,
with
we
that.
almost had a five straight quitteds. I think that would have been the first time in show history with five straight quitteds. But yeah, I knew once I saw this, I was like, well, that's over. It's over now. But heck yeah. All right. So the last three spots for you in no order are Lynx, Dream, and Sparks.
The last three in order: Link, Stream, and Sparks.
Oh, not in order. Not in order.
Oh, oh, wait. All right? Can you repeat the question?
So the last three spots in the playoffs, that bottom tier, so the 6 through 8, Lynx, Dream, Sparks.
Yeah, no, I would go with that. I think so. Yeah, I'd go Dream, Sparks, and then Links, because it's going to be hard for the Links to actually pass the Sparks unless they fall apart, which is possible. But
Very
um,
possible.
yeah,
Heck yeah. Well, that is with it or quit it, ladies and gentlemen. And we did not get our first 5P to quit it. I
have me
thought it was
back
on the
next time.
way. Yeah. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, that is also the episode. Mark, I appreciate you coming on and filling in for my man BJ. Uh, BJ is irreplaceable, but you did a wonderful job in here today. I appreciate you taking your time out to come hang out with me and talk a lot of basketball and a little bit about hot dogs and food and stuff too.
It was fun, man.
Yes, sir. Guys, make sure if you don't know already, we are partnered with Fanatics out here. So make sure you go check out the link in the show description. Hit that link and shop your merch, your favorite athletes, jerseys and collectibles, all that gear with the Lowdown. Even this polo I got on right now, this is Fanatics gear. This Dallas Cowboys polo, Fanatics gear. So you guys go shop at the Lowdown when you want to get your favorite sports gear. You can get NBA and WNBA over there, both of the sports that we talk here on this show. And make sure you guys go follow us on social media on that Twitter and Instagram at _lowdown. That's THA_lowdown on both Twitter and Instagram. And if you're not already, drop a follow over on Twitch and give us a subscription over on YouTube. It is free to follow and or subscribe to these platforms. We appreciate all your support, though, ladies and gentlemen. BJ will be back next week as we wrap up the last few episodes to close out season 2 and come out with a bang in the middle of August for season 3. We got some interesting things that we're throwing into the mix. But once again, Mark, appreciate you coming through, hanging out, talking some basketball with me, man. Maybe we'll have you back on when BJ's here, and we can make you a guest. We'll make it more about Mark. We'll read all those stories that he writes all the doggone time. Because you follow him, you
Appreciate you,
follow him
man.
on Twitter, you'll see that great basketball content, brother.
Oh, you're the best, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'd be happy to come back on anytime.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, dude. And guys, once again, that's the end of this episode. And if you're not already, go follow Mark on Twitter as well. Plug him with that handle again, bro.
Find me on Twitter at MG_Schindler.
Yes, sir. Go follow that man and follow us, like I said. But anyways, guys, we'll catch you guys next week. BJ's back. We'll be back and rocking. We'll see you next week.